Hello and welcome back to Two Blokes in a Cave, where we're continuing on our previous conversation about artificial intelligence, or AI, and we're going to kind of hammer out the pros and cons and really flesh out what the pros are, what they mean for us individually, and then what they mean on aggregate for us as a species. And we'll kind of touch on some social stuff as well, because it's kind of interesting. And then also what the cons might be there as well. So some of the pros here are going to be ripped straight from the show, What's Next, the Netflix show. Yep. And some of the cons are things that we've inferred as a natural kind of conclusion to the pro presented. There are a couple of cons there that, of course, the show does touch on. Interestingly, though, I don't think the show does or really intends to answer the cons. It's sort of the thought I got was it was fairly dismissive of a lot of the questions that I think are most profound. I was like, yeah, I don't really know. Anyway, moving on.
Classic documentary.
Yeah. It was interesting that they put it in and then had it come across that way, because obviously this is... listen, I'm not ignorant to how these things go. I'm sure Bill Gates gets a bit of a creative license as to what stays and what goes, and probably so too do most people. Yeah. And some of them came across a little bit callous to the potential ramifications for a lot of people.
Classic.
Let's dive in.
I think we did a pretty good job of waffling on and dancing around and talking about what is AI in the first one. It wasn't. This one's a bit more structured, more like point based, more pros and cons. Let's see what happens. I also still haven't seen this documentary, so take your word for it.
Very good.
I get the gist.
Very good. Okay. All right. So the first pro, as sort of explained by the documentary, would be a healthcare revolution. Early cancer detection. Primary care, sort of, what do you call them? GPs on your phone, things like that are going to be significantly augmented with AI to the point where, and potentially the only con that they really talk about is not actually a need for a lot of these people anymore. So pro and con, what's the first sort of thought that comes to your mind if that's the case?
Well, first, it usually sounds pretty good. The stuff I've seen seems pretty pro. Like, if AI is collecting all the data in the world and trying to find patterns and models in way things work and give you an answer, that's effectively what a lot of people are doing at university research anyway. It's just kind of making it faster and running 1 billion models to see what will fit. Also guessing and checking. Like, it seems like an okay deal if, there's a really tired doctor and he comes up with these are your symptoms, and he's like vaguely tired. He's trying to run a model. You can sort of bypass that and input all the symptoms. Odds are, this is what the AI reckons. Does a little scan of you? It seems like it's producing good stuff if it's programmed properly.
Yeah, look, I think we touched on this with the chess stuff. It eliminates a lot of the human error.
Yes,
and it doesn't fatigue or get or make those kind of mistakes. Yeah, I think that's the major pro. I think it would be almost impossible to make a case that that's not a just 100% good time. Eliminating errors and being infallible in the sense that you're just not going to slow down because you're tired is a very good thing. However, there is a huge question.
There's a slight noise in the guy.
There is a huge question of what to do with the people whose jobs previously were to do the early cancer screening,
right?
The GPs, because, and this is just the way the market works. And the intention of the show was, of course, go to a poorer place like Africa, where there aren't a lot of GPs. I think the show makes a really... They point out that some people have never seen a physician. They never will see a physician. And it starts out with this kind of grandiose, they never get a physician. But, if the doctor AI is successful and good, then why have MDs anywhere if they can all be replaced? Like the going to your local doctor to get checked up will cease to be a thing.
Yeah.
Why would you need it?
I think on a whole, that sounds to me like, I guess the argument is, it sounds to me like it definitely would like take some jobs, right? Surely. But then again, I think that isn't the other argument also it would create a bunch of jobs because now
could you name
people,
one?
like people.
Could you name one job that it would create?
Yeah, like the people who like fix the AI. The people
Don't
who
they already
train
exist?
it
The people that are building it, wouldn't they just fix it?
I guess, yeah, but there'd be more of them, I suppose. You'd always have someone to have to double check everything, wouldn't you? Like even if you're in the, couldn't just be like a screen that's like you have this disease. There'd have to be someone who'd like read it and like confirm that makes like sense, just in case there's like a bug. Yeah, I think.
Would you have if the computer has an IQ of 1,000?
Yeah.
Which might be low. I don't know. Right.
Seems
would
high.
you have someone with an IQ of 140 checking the work of someone with an IQ of 1,000?
If we get to the point where it's like it's completely infallible, this like AI's not doing a bad job. It's all G.
Well, you're talking about medical stuff. People like doctors make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, they do.
There's a whole TV series very popular called Medical Mistakes. It's very, very exciting, interesting.
So, yeah,
like,
you were supposed to cut off my left arm.
Yeah. See this writing that says cut off here? Like, no, 100%. Like there is like the idea that you would need, again, economically, you would never do it. Like a lot of people are gonna, even if you had one guy just walking around like checking the computers. Firstly, this might be a broad generalization, but when a computer starts doing a job, how seriously are you checking the work?
No, not at all.
After you get a few like positives, you're like, this is.
Most people will be like, if this thing's a
you would start to
accurate.
trust the computer over your own senses. I think there's some really interesting studies about this. Slightly different context, but the fact that people will kind of forego the evidence of their eyes to kind of go with the crowd. If you change the crowd for the computer, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like if you're a doctor and you're looking at it and you're a cancer screening doctor and you're like, well, I think I read the pattern here to give me X, and the computer's like, well, I've got a Y, and this is all I do.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? Like take it into a chess context. When I make a move, and the computer gives me a question mark, like, no, I wouldn't have done that. Who are you going to listen to? Like, I'm significantly better at chess than you.
Wrong move.
But if you're looking at it, you go, well, I just trust the computer.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I think in the end, you probably would have
most people would ultimately end up deferring to the computer, whether or not they're right or wrong. And this is before what I'm saying is there wouldn't even be a cognitive questioning of the computer. There would be a deference of like, oh, well, the computer said this. We already live in a world where we are so dominated by the computer that it's implausible to assume the average person going against the computer on principle.
True.
You would just say, oh, you're wrong. The computer said you're wrong.
He says no.
Yeah. And there would be no like, well, hang on, that doesn't really make any sense because these are the things that I would, this is my case I would lay out, and they just go, oh, computer said no though. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure. There would be any jobs created.
Well, that's the question. Hey, like,
because what would the jobs be? There's
it's
already
too
lots
disruptive,
of people.
right? Like they say, like, well, when we created computers, more jobs were created. Stuff got easier. Stuff got more efficient. When we created, like, when they went from horse and cart to cars, there was more jobs created.
Yeah,
it got more efficient. All that sort of stuff.
Argument, yeah.
But like, this is such a disruptive technology that it seems hard if they're doing every task better. But what the hell are we doing?
There are a lot of the say. For instance, in the Industrial Revolution, you had men with shovels digging ditches. Mining was a physically difficult job where you had a literal pickaxe and you just dug into the earth looking for resources. When you replace the pickaxe with a machine arm that just digs out dirt, you are eliminating some of the need for human labor, but you still need a lot of humans. Like the machine's not. The machine needs a lot of direction.
Yeah.
and you need a lot of people to kind of sift through and organize. But when you've got computers that can do all of that,
every part, every task,
every part of every part of a task can be automated or run by a computer, and there is no need. And what we're talking about really is this sort of advanced AI that can predict, that can solve problems on the fly, that can analyze, 1,000 moves in advance. It does raise the question of, well, hang on, what good is a person in this mix at all? If the AI is what it promises to be, which is
you're going to be firing a whole bunch of people, and also a little bit of
not even firing them. Like, it wouldn't be a firing as in you suck, Stephen. It's just literally, you are literally now redundant.
Yeah,
like we actually have no need for you.
Yeah. But then the people, there'd be a generational thing, and there'd be less people wanting to do that specific job because there'd be less placements and all that sort of stuff. But so with the end loader thing, that's an interesting example. If you have like 40 people digging a hole, that one guy with an end loader, whatever, digging machine can do in like, you go from 40 people to one guy in half the time, maybe a third of the time. It kind of makes it sort of makes a bit of sense because you can't pay those 40 people much because their output's very low. They're actually only digging like a bunch of crap. Whereas this one guy, with the help of the machine, which maybe took like another 100 people to create and build and like ship from Germany, I assume, I don't know, to like wherever this thing is. Like Germany or Japan, one of the two engineering nations. It creates a little bit of thing, and the output that machine could do can actually now rip out 150 times more ore out of the ground that they can sell, and therefore it justifies the cost of the machine, which cost money, which made people create, and everything's more efficient and like there's more output, economic output. So isn't there an argument that if we're all going to the doctor and the doctor can prescribe us and heal us faster, isn't that creating like a little bit more economic output?
It's a market efficiency. What I'm saying is, it's a market efficiency that would render humans redundant.
Yeah, but the people getting healed would get back out of the workforce faster.
But there's no workforce to return to.
Well, maybe they're doing other stuff.
Listen, and I'm not a big like worship at the feet of doctors and lawyers, but I'm gonna go on record and say if the doctors and lawyers are not required because machines are, like whatever your job is, journalist, like what job do you think you occupy?
Coming for everybody.
That would be safe from the machines?
Yeah, well, this is a good question. Probably none.
Probably like literal construction. Anything to do with your hands would probably be the longest holdout. But eventually, if the machine can build its own stuff, or like if it can manifest itself physically.
Oh, you wouldn't need that. It'd just be machines doing it. It'd be like the end loader run by an AI.
Okay, well that's one pro. Let's get to the next pro.
Okay, so I can agree. There'll be some loss of certain types of jobs, and to fill those, I think that'd be a big gap.
I'm just saying, like, what is, and I understand that I'm not having a go at you for not on the fly knowing what the jobs will be, because excuse me. I mean, if you ask someone in 1904, like, hey, you want a car? They'd be like, what? No, I don't want a car. They don't need a car. There's no concept of a car. So
if you're talking about before the car.
Exactly, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's not fair to ask you, like, what are the future jobs that don't exist yet that are going to be?
Well, yeah, I think the Neil deGrasse Tyson's the world always say there's always a job that gets created. It always seems to there's other things to do.
He's wrong about a lot of things. Education, another pro, another good pro.
Yeah.
I on record now, several episodes railing against the public school system and how bad it is. However, I'm not sure that this is the layup pro that it is presented as in the documentary.
Yeah, I agree.
Initial thoughts on the idea.
So I'm gonna be more on your side with this one. So like with the last one, I was gonna say one more thing.
Go.
I think one of the things I watched was like they could generate 1 billion different things and create medications that don't exist out of like effectively thin air that would like solve people's problems, like almost overnight. Where like I don't know, 100,000 people in the world have a very specific disease, it would now be effectively solved. All of those people now have like more time to, even if they're just bare minimum, like spending cash and like having holidays. It's like better on a whole, I think, than like firing like a bunch of nurses. Do you know what I mean?
No. Can you go back and explain it? Just
so like
break it down a bit more.
Let's say Are
you saying the machines solve all the medical problems?
The AI would potentially solve a bunch of medical problems. So like the health system costs money, and like you don't want to be in the health system. I understand like the goal is to make you better so you can go back out and be a productive human. I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure that's questionable. Yeah. But like, yeah, you're like, if you don't ever have to go to hospital, all those people who have been to hospital or been to the doctor or being sick and unwell home from work and not working and now are like healthy and fit. Theoretically, let's say there's a thing that can be solved by a pill, like they make you better. They can generate that pill and that medication. This is like some of the things where I'm thinking like maybe...
What is your assumption of getting back to though? Are you...
Well, that's the thing.
Are you making it seem like...
If you have no money because your job's been... I'm sick and healthy. I'm sick and I'm healthy because of AI, but my job's been stolen by AI and now I have no job. I know what you're saying. It's a bit
I'm saying, does that assume that humans' primary purpose is to produce?
No, this is just economically crap speaking, I guess.
What's your degree in economics?
I don't.
Fudge.
To produce, I mean, maybe not produce.
But like, get back to what is my point. Because I'm like, what can you do
that it can't do
with your life that the machines aren't doing?
Nothing. That's a great question.
Yeah.
We're talking about having to have some like universal income because everyone literally can't do anything except for just relax.
Just completely. Well, yeah. Look, I've got some thoughts on that, which we will touch on shortly.
We'll move on to back to what we're talking about.
Education.
Okay.
The idea of having a digital Aristotle for everyone sounds great. I actually did a paper on it for uni.
Did you?
Yeah, dead set.
Digital Aristotle.
Digital Aristotle for everyone. It was just the same thing. It was like the idea of a super AI tutor. Imagine how smart you would be if the smartest person in the world was your personal tutor.
Interesting.
Well, it's like Alexander the Great was tutored for a very long time by Aristotle.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
You know, like, oh, this guy's probably pretty learned, pretty on the ball, like probably knows some stuff. Yeah, that's fair. It's fair to assume. It's fair to assume that you would be a more brilliant person if you had one-on-one tutoring with the world's smartest person or the smartest person known
refer to them all
to
the time,
you.
for sure.
Yeah. So the idea is, well, we can do that now with AI, and we can just make people smarter, better, I guess. At doing what? I'm not sure, but we can make them theoretically better.
Yeah.
Because the theory is, if you take a person and if you are like me and believe they are malleable, which is to say that you can manipulate them in various ways, and in this case, we get positive manipulation. We're going to kind of increase their intelligence by giving them surplus knowledge of things. Because the human mind works much the same way as AI, frankly. Like, we take data and we learn, and then we can infer more things. That's like a lot of what... Forget about the math stuff, because I'm not a math genius by any stretch, and off the fly, probably quite hard to do math equation. But like socially, right? We can take a social situation, fairly social, say, take a social situation where I don't need you to say, like, I'm kind of annoyed at you. I can kind of see it. Yeah. Because I've seen other people's annoyed at me looks. And I can take that knowledge and go, oh, I think maybe Cameron's also annoyed at me.
Was everyone annoyed at you with this? What have you done?
I don't know. So that would be my quick analysis of the pro. What I would say is the negative, and this is an unintentional negative, by the way. This is not. I don't think this is nefarious at all. I think the unintentional negative is if you have a little tutor that follows you around in the cloud that knows everything. Why would you need to know anything?
Yeah, I tend to agree. We're talking about this. I think Brendan was saying in the show that they're saying the AI could also assist you to do a task. Like in Word, it wouldn't give you the answer; it'd assist you, and it was like Clippy. Clippy was the first AI. That guy's like, down the bottom. Maybe you wanted to say this.
Maybe you could make them do animations. That was kind of
good. Clippy was amazing. If it's like Clippy, let's go.
I think the issue is that there already exist things that will do the work for you. And look, I think people like water take the path of least resistance when on aggregate, that's what they do. And the people that are truly great, they often do the hard work, but it's very hard for the average Joe to do the hard work when an easier route exists. Therefore, I don't believe that people will use the assistant as much as they'll just use an AI to do it for them. And the issue with that is, and it's an issue that I've had for a long time that I've shared with you for years, and I say it all the time, like people think because they have all of Aristotle's work, they have access to it on their phone in their pocket, they mistakenly think that they are more intelligent than Aristotle. That's not true. Just because you have all of Mozart's symphonies on your phone doesn't make you a better musician. Doesn't mean you understand music better than Mozart. Just because you have it. Do you know what I mean?
More data on your phone.
Exactly. It doesn't correlate. And I think the mistake modern people, this is pre-AI, would make is that they don't learn things. They just, I don't know if this was you as well, but you have an assignment and a lot of uni and school is sort of test-based and not necessarily we want to build your knowledge foundation. And maybe it should be not that. But anyway, the point is you look at things and you read for the answers to the assignment as opposed to reading the text.
To learning the subject.
To learn and have a full and thorough appreciation of what you're learning. And I suppose the issue would be you're expediting the process of making the human mind redundant if you can just pull up X. Like we think people used to be able to traverse the ocean based on the constellation in the stars. It's called celestial navigation. It's a real skill. The average person now would just die. They wouldn't know what to look at.
That's
they would
true.
be dead. If you, if you can't drive, and this is a big drive, from Sydney to Melbourne in Australia, which is a long drive, without a GPS, like if you can't get there just following the road signs and the paved road.
It's like the straight way.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and most people our age wouldn't get in the car and just go, "Oh yeah, I'll just follow the road signs and I'll make it to Melbourne." They're like, "Oh, I've got to plug it into my GPS." They won't even give themselves the challenge, I say, of driving a paved, marked road towards their destination. And I would contend strongly that would just happen if you had a digital Aristotle on your shoulder.
Yeah. So
you would just go like, "Hey, what's the answer to this?" And you'd go, beep, boop, beep, boop. And you'd be on because you have some Neuralink probably and your whole interface is linked up.
So I generally agree with this. I think the first thing that comes to mind with that is that I don't think so far like computer learning is doing a good job in this. I think people now are probably in some respects stupider than they ever were because you
live in idiocracy.
You can't, because number one, what is this AI? Is it a real person? Is it like a holograph? Because I don't think you can really learn unless talking to an actual real human. It has to be very, very tactile and like feedbacky. So it has to be like an AI holograph of an actual person. It couldn't just be some sort of like video of some like cartoon teaching you. I think that's been proven garbage. You learn way better when it's an actual human in a room talking to you. Has to be a human. Has to be a copy of a human. Has to be something that's like so realistic that it's like generating pretty much a real human. So it'd be like, let's say Aristotle, pretty good. I think on top of that, there is a full risk that if we've got this knowledge, the absolute be all and end all of all knowledge in the form of some sort of computer generated human, what's the point of us learning? You just refer to him. Are you going to argue with this thing like you would a normal lecturer? I think right now people just go to their phone and they bring it up and no one even cares about learning. You've got to go through the mental anguish of dealing with a text and dealing with an idea and actually doing it, as opposed to looking at your phone and be like, that's the actual answer. Let's not even talk about it. And there'd be a full risk with that.
Well, the full risk is you're not learning. I think Aristotle himself actually said, and producer Brendos can quickly do a Google of this. The quote, I believe, is, "I cannot teach a man anything. I can just show him how to think," or something to that effect.
Something like that, yeah.
And I think what you're saying is the same thing, is the computer can't teach you how to think. It can only tell you the answer.
Yeah.
And that's just the inverted idea, but it's not professing to teach anything. So you're just having someone with the ability to ask a question and get an instant answer. My concern on this is probably well-founded in the sense that, like, who is moderating the answers?
That's right.
Because there are lots of questions that are not definitive outside of maybe STEM. Like, a lot of answers in life are maybe grey.
Yeah.
And if you like, the computer could influence people in one direction very strongly, and I think that would be interesting to see who who's pulling the levers to spit out that sort of information.
With literature and stuff, history, it's contentious. People have their own spin on a lot of this stuff. Like, how did you delve into the text? What's your like actual idea of definition? If there's just someone there who's like vaguely telling you the answer, it would have to be an AI that's human, extremely human, that can like debate with you and can evolve in your style of learning. It'd have to be individualized. I think there was a quote here that, I mean, we should reference, which I think is from the documentary, Aristotle thinking about like this AI, 2,500 years ago, saying that like there was talking about the danger of self-playing harps that could one day put harpists out of business. I think that's a good reference because of bringing up Aristotle. Got to chuck that one in there as a note. But
that is the definition essentially of a Luddite, is the concern that new technologies will take away old jobs. I typically feel that just because things in the past happen to unfold a certain way doesn't mean we can assume that they will continue to unfold in the same manner. What I mean by that is, I heard my grandparents tell me that they wanted their kids, so like my parents' generation, to get outside more or something like that. Like, they watch too much TV, maybe, let's say. Yeah. The TV was really intrusive when they first came into the home, and I think they were told that the radio was that intrusive element. Right. And I think that's all well and good. Like, I don't have a TV. I'm not a big fan of spending lots of time on sort of screens generally. But the phone and like the TikTok and Instagram stuff actually is fundamentally different to the TV. Like the TV, it's in one room. It's not in your pocket following you around. It's not everywhere you go. Like there is an argument to be made that your phone knows more about you than you do, because it's with you every waking moment, and you check it the first thing you do. Most people check it when they wake up. The last thing they do before they go to bed is they look at their phone. And every moment of the day in between, they're just on their phone.
Well, TV isn't interactive. You sit and watch it. Originally, because there'd only be one, it's too expensive to buy. You'd sit and watch as a family. So
it's like a social aspect,
But so the phone is
what I'm saying is it is actually different, because
for sure.
It's impossible to get away from. And the idea that, people are always upset about new technology. I'm like, well, sometimes there is merit to it and sometimes there's not, like you might say, actually, the TV's not a bad thing. I love watching the football. It's, I get some friends over. It's a social time. It's a good time. Like, okay, maybe the TV's not the evil that some proclaimed it to be. But maybe having people exposed to this like brain rot, which essentially, and what I mean by that is it causes an inability to focus on things that aren't instantly satisfying that dopamine.
Yes, correct.
In your head, it's hard to read a book if you spend all your time scrolling 7-second long videos, because the book is never going to be that interesting. Like, it's words on a page. You got to set up. You got to build things. There's not everything is explosions in life, and part of what I like about seasons and living life in a more organic sense is that there are times where you work more and harder and longer, and then there are times where you recover and rest and spend time with the family, and there are seasons. You kind of ebb and flow, and what we've done is just turn everything to max all the time, and we're like, hey, this is going to be good. Like, this is going to you're going to crash and burn. You're almost like, you can't keep up. Your brain can't keep up with the amount of information just being plugged in 7-second intervals all the time.
It's
just
it's like spiking you all the time. It's not great for you.
Anyway, all that is to say, TV not as bad as TikTok, I guess.
TV's fine.
So That's what I would summarize.
I would agree, and I think
get off TikTok.
I think we'd have to be very questionable about like what the new AI was being driven and who owned it and what the thing behind it was, especially when a lot of this stuff seems to be making straight cash. But like the other thing I was going to talk about is this Aristotle dude. There's definitely a big thing. This Aristotle learner. He's this sort of AI Aristotle that's in your classroom.
It's my assignment that I did.
Yeah. You'd have to. So if you're all, this is everyone's personal tutor.
Yeah.
Is it personalized to you? Because there's a real big problem where you've all got the exact same tutor, you've all got the exact same teacher. You'd end up coming out with all the exact same ideas, and then where are those ideas coming from? You're just trusting this Aristotle guy, which could be some sort of like algorithm getting out of control in some respect.
Kind of modern state schools though.
No, but there's
don't you think?
Let's go to
like what's
Jonathan,
the average young
Mr.
person
Jonathan, or
thinks
we'll
about
go to
stuff.
Mr. Smith, and you can all laugh about Mr. Smith being kind of smelly, but Mr. Jonathan had a different view, and you can debate on them, and they've got like their own little personality and their own little thing that they've read the texts and they're making you read the text. But if it's just an Aristotle regurgitation like AI algorithm,
okay, hang on.
I'm not sure if he's. Yeah.
We can get Brendos in a second, but if you could quickly Google something, Brendan, and just Google like university professors' political affiliation or something like that. And this is not to be a smartass, but like it is overwhelmingly, I think it's like 90% are on the like the left-leaning intellectual space.
But wouldn't with this AI thing it'd be even worse? We'd all be on exactly the same thing.
So,
that's what I'm saying.
No, no. Listen, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, isn't it? You are. Let me see if I can get this correct. Your point was, if everyone gets the same teacher, they'll come out with the same ideas.
Pretty much.
And what I'm saying is, isn't that already kind of happening? If you take away the smelly Mr. Smith, and that's the only real point of difference, if they all kind of believe the same thing, and that's not necessarily correct. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying that there are people that would say, hang on, I have a different view. This is my evidence. But because I'm in a small minority, that's just being completely overshadowed. And we're taking things as gospel that aren't maybe necessarily gospel.
Maybe, but there's still competition of ideas between different people.
If it's 9 against 1,
sounds to be like there's zero competition.
If that's the right 9 against 1, what's the actual like? What seriously like?
Well, there's a different debate about like
a little bit
education
different.
People. I think that I see what you're saying, but like that's seems to be that a bit of an issue with like universities in general. But like I mean.
I'm not even trying to make a political point. I'm just saying, like, the point I say is a lot of people come out of university and they all think roughly the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they get into work and they start to get into disparate ideas and they become like, oh, actually, hang on, that might have been, whoopsies, a little bit different. Things are a bit different in the real world, but I wasn't exposed to those ideas because there's a real monopoly on the kind of thought that is accepted or that is promoted in these education areas. And my concern is ultimately the same as yours, I think, in that if this is a sort of more generic, we'll call it like a universal syllabus, which is what I'm extremely against any kind of syllabus nationwide in any school.
The homogenized
terrible idea, stupid idea, don't think it's a good idea. And that's the same thing if it's international, if it's just a huge across the board, this is the interactive AI that maybe it has a little bit of variance in that Cameron's a funny guy, so I'll tell a few more jokes to get the stories across, whatever. And in this example, I'm a really serious guy and don't want any jokes. You know what I mean? Like that might be the variance. But ultimately, this is the curriculum. This is the standard that we're going to mark you by. This is what we're going to do.
It couldn't vary too much if it's going to have like a definite answer.
Well, you can't mark on a scale if you have like I understand why you would do it. I think it's a stupid idea, but I understand why you would want to. Again, if we live in a world of just data and humans are just resources, well then sure, we're all just widgets in the factory anyway, so who cares what we think or feel. But we are much more than that, so we shouldn't be marked solely on our productive capacity or our ability to regurgitate certain information in a certain time period.
Oh, I agree.
Right,
but this would seem to push towards.
That's what I mean. That would definitely push
to the nth degree.
So
you're talking about the homogenization of intellectual thought over time, which I think is legit like a problem. There's like less battling of ideas and more people accepting them and pushing down other ones really aggressively. Pardon?
We had a massive battle before about the animals loving each other. You guys didn't
Yeah,
see
true.
that.
That was
just,
the after
just ganging
thoughts
up
are
on
actually
me.
pretty much better than the actual things. We should record the afters conversation. But yeah,
just spicy.
It'd be the whole thing.
You
would be
guys are just
homogenized.
mean to me. That's what it is.
Mean? I think animals love, and I think animals grieve.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that if that is one of our concerns with the pro, the con has to be, well...
That's the con. That's the mad con.
No, hang on.
Yeah.
The idea of a digital assistant computer person is in theory, like, it can be a good thing.
Yeah.
The concern is, like, won't it homogenize learning and ideas would become very stale and sterile. The con is who's pulling the levers and who's making the decisions.
Exactly.
Thinking a certain way. If we follow something of a natural progression, if AI comes along to take these jobs and then these jobs and then these jobs, and it renders more and more human activity, human learning obsolete, eventually humans got to do something.
Yeah.
So if they're being taught by AI, what are they taught to do?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's
not like much of a checks and balances.
Yeah. I have actually had this theory for a long time. I don't know if you think this is crazy or not.
Yeah.
And this is not a tinfoil conspiracy hat thing. This is just I'm looking at the world with eyeballs. So just see what you think about this. If we can assume a few basic truths to what I'm saying is, the richest people in the world are becoming richer faster than the average person is sort of remaining average. The pool of middle class seems to be shrinking. And the wealthy people
the
is
disparity of wealth between poor and rich. Yeah.
Okay. It does seem to me like we are almost cyclically going into like a fiefdom style economy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Where we have people who are elite and we'll call them nobility because that would be the nice and easy.
That'll be the example.
And then you've got your kind of artisans, which are like the class below, which are your doctors and your lawyers and your people that are really, really skilled at a certain task and they're able to do a lot more. Yeah. And then you have basically everyone else who's just a...
pleb.
I think they're called... plebeian would be the... Serf is what I was going for, You're essentially a slave to your landlord. And we live in Australia. Property prices are pretty bananas. Like it is... One of the craziest things to conceptualize if you're not from Australia is just Google $1 million home in Brisbane. You probably think like, it'd be a really nice home. And they're not even like terrible homes necessarily, but they're just the most standard, like, it's like a 3-bedroom house. It's kind of crazy. Oh, is it made out of stone like 600 years ago? It's made out of gyprock.
It's full of asbestos.
Soft
Don't cut
wood.
the wall down. You'll have.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's
problems.
not like it's built out of premium materials. Like why is it so freaking expensive to buy a home? Well, I don't know. I don't actually have. I do.
It's complicated.
It's complicated, but like basically like a supply. But like the point I'm trying to make is, very soon there will be people. The talks in the government are introducing this government equity program where the government will buy a portion of your house so that you can get in. Terrible idea. It will guarantee it. It will increase house prices by whatever amount they want to guarantee. Like they want to buy in. It's a stupid idea, but it's a government idea. So I repeat myself. The point is, most people won't be able to own a house ever. And if they can't own a house, like they are effectively just lifelong renters, aka serfs, and they'll work the land they're given, but they won't have a clearly defined job anymore because AI's taken that away from them. So they'll just be educated into thinking that whatever
this is
the
way.
elites, exactly. That's my basic.
I have a scare factor about that
like
too.
It's kind of like a fairly succinct way of looking at it. I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm crazy for saying that.
No, I think everyone has a strong feeling that that's going down that case. Like, if this AI is being purported by all these people, and I'm assuming this is Bill Gates on this documentary, he has a big say in this AI, and he has a big investor in I think OpenAI, ChatGPT.
Yeah, big time.
So, if this stuff's making ourselves better, and we've all got to take it on, we've all got to use it, there's like a small number of people relatively who own this stuff, and then now they have the say. And let's just say someone owns this Aristotle tutor, and we're using it now worldwide from every nation in the entire globe. Someone else is owning it. It sounds to me like all the money is going upwards into this like AI thing, and it's not. The other people are going to be like, well, what are we doing here?
Can I have the money?
No. We're just using your shitty product and not doing anything.
Yeah, you become a consumer.
Yeah,
that's your life.
Yeah,
you're an ant.
We're an ant.
Not good.
Or like what everyone's talking about, the bloody should we mention the Wall-E thing?
No, not yet. I want one more point before the Wall-E thing.
Go for it.
I want to bring Brendos into this because I know we've gone back and forth a couple times. I don't remember the most recent time we talked about like overpopulation as a general topic, but I do think there is an underlying assumption in the world that it's overpopulated and that there's too many people, not enough resources, and it's all very bad, no good. Whenever someone says that to me, I'm like, okay, yep. Hang on. The solution to that is like fewer people, though.
Yeah.
How do you want to get to fewer people? Because you're either going to be forced sterilizing someone, or you can just restrict killing people.
Yeah, but you can't.
Well, I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like, we don't know what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
But what happens when 1 billion people just turn around like, I have nothing to do and nowhere to be? Like, what are they going to do?
Revolution.
And other people, the people they're revolutioning against are not going to be sitting around going, we can't wait for this to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And like, as a student of history myself, many a peasant rebellion has been crushed mercilessly by the nobility. Like, mercilessly and brutally, it gets put down. So my thinking is generally like, what is the end goal here? If you believe the earth is overpopulated and you believe that fewer people will need jobs and that maybe the end goal of AI would be like a universal income where it's, hey, just go be creative in the corner somewhere, but don't do anything. It's a lot of people doing a lot of nothing. You know what I mean?
It's true. Supposedly they're consuming, sending more money upwards.
So I want to just bring Brendos in as and I don't want to mischaracterize anything that you've said or done, but what is the your kind of thoughts on what I'm saying about? Is that a correct summary of not necessarily your thoughts, but the idea that AI is going to push us into a situation where there's going to be a lot of people that essentially are not required? Is that a fair way of characterizing the future?
Hey, so my kind of thoughts on this part, so going back on the health app, and this does get pretty dark pretty quickly. So when you have a GP in your pocket in an app in an African like third world country, the immediate benefits are going to be amazing. And if you could take any one of those families and go, hey, we prevented life-ending cancer, how can you possibly go, that's like a bad thing? But for the benefit of this conversation, I am going to say that if you extrapolate that kind of thought process and that everyone in the world has now become able to survive, you're directly affecting the natural ecosystem of our world. And now everyone can live to the full extent of their lives. And if they don't have a purpose in their job, having kids is a massive purpose. So if all these menial tasks are taken away, a lot of people are going to get pets and they're going to have babies. And
it's just like when we're all locked up, or like if it's Christmas time, there's all these babies getting created because everyone's bored or something.
So in physics, you cannot create matter. You can only change matter into one form or another. And that being said, like, there's only so many resources on planet Earth. So if we continue down this path, we've got this technology that saves every human and extends their life, and then we populate even more people into that. There's nothing that we can do short of like finding another planet to bring more resources into the world. So eventually the world will run out of resources, and now we've got to different apocalyptic situation of everyone fighting for those valuable resources. I do believe that, generally speaking, we can be sustainable in every way, shape, or form. But when capitalism is the number one goal, and everyone's out there to make money, not to improve the planet or to do the moral good, I just don't think that's a realistic possibility. And I think the apocalyptic world of people fighting for resources because of these Wall-E or type global corporations that have just kind of taken over, I think it's a lot higher possibility that, as you said, that separation will exist, and we've got all the data, all the information we could possibly have, but we got no resources to live a comfortable life.
Thank you for that inspiring note, Brendan. That was it's lovely.
No, it was good.
Doesn't make me feel happy knowing that was that the best case scenario for the machines is we just have a bunch of babies and then take all the resources.
Plug them into the Matrix.
My Lord, this is terrible times. Very interesting though. I think that is one of the, my only major, I guess, point of disagreement is we're just going to go colonize the bloody galaxy. Sounds like a cool
That'd be
time.
what I think the answer to.
That's what Elon Musk wants to do. And I kind of get that. Humanity is kind of a conquering, explorative species. We move around and conquer different ecosystems and terrain on Earth. And I think there is a good argument to be made that that's sort of maybe our natural state is to be constantly moving. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think the idea that the global sort of transnational corporations are taking over is a very real, very serious threat to individual liberty. I'm not sure AI is going to be. I'm not sure AI is going to help fix that. I think it might actually accelerate the disproportional power balance between individuals and corporations.
Well, I think the main reason it's getting developed right now is cash. Like people are saying all this altruistic stuff, we're going to help everyone, all this stuff, but it's just straight money. They're doing it in huge tech corporations there, and they're getting the sweet stock rises. Nothing really great's actually happened from it so far, except for promises. So it's really, you covered a few different topics, I suppose. I go back and forth on the overpopulation stuff. You've got to probably live sustainably. You can't be all chucking, buy a fridge one week and then throw their fridge in the river the next week and buy a fridge the next week. And everyone does that times 10 billion. We're completely fucked. But the talk about the overpopulation stuff does get a bit extreme because I think there is a full negative on that when people talk about that.
The only
it's a little bit
solution
maybe?
to that is that those Extinction Rebellion guys. I'm like, what? Whose extinction are you? Because do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't extinct oil. So what are you extinctioning? Like you're
Humans,
talking about humans. Yeah, that's what it is though. Like I'm not even trying to paint them in a you're called the Extinction Rebellion. That's sort of a pretty sounds pretty that sounds like a death cult.
It's a bit of a positive.
Is that a death cult? That sounds like a death cult.
Well, yeah.
It's in the name. Extinction Rebellion.
Brendan made a good point here. We said we will always adapt to survive, which I think we're amazingly good at. And I probably think we will inevitably. We'll have to be going and colonizing other worlds to get the resources and to live and to make space. All this sort of jazz. But will it be a good life? Will it be better than the life you've got now? Would it be better not to do the entire thing from scratch and pull the plug on AI and all this stuff in the first place? This is the problem. Let's just how hard is it going to be to live on Mars? For the first 50, 100 years, it's going to be garbage. There's nothing there. It's crap. It'd be it's
garbage because you've that being rude,
rough.
You have been born into an era where everything is easy.
Yeah.
But you were not meant
Life's not
for
hard,
easy.
But
you were meant to be great, not to live an easy life of nothing.
Yeah, but there's a difference between easy and inhospitable.
Well, everything. Hey, listen, the North American outback was inhospitable until it wasn't.
Yeah, of course. But for the first people, sucked. The Wild Wild West people, it's a terrible place to live.
It's not called the Wild Wild West because it's fun time.
Yeah, I guess, but it's completely different.
But like, you know, the idea that we tamed. You think Siberia is a super cool and inviting? Like, it's a harsh, hard place to live, but people live there.
Yeah,
it's been made livable. There's probably some amenities there. I don't know. I've been to Siberia, but
yeah,
there is some good stuff going on.
I think objectively, I'd rather live here, but that's like my personal opinion.
That could be a Russian Australian thing, frankly.
Maybe. Well, I guess.
Russians.
But in your opinion, if you think that's a positive, you're going to outer space. I think AI is 100% necessary in that whole endeavor. If that's the case, you're going to need all these people to help you out and all this extra computing power, because you might not have a doctor, you might not have a person up there. They might not. They might be tried. They might not want to go.
No, I'm not playing What Ifs because it's a boring game. Next pro.
I think this is all a What If game. Move on to the next thing. There's a pro in the series supposedly that says it'll be good for climate innovation.
I think that's
food,
such a bunch of nonsense. Do you want
be able to make it more efficient?
I'm just not. I don't take much of the climate stuff very seriously.
Okay.
Not because I am I'm a big fan of. I grow a lot of food myself. I have a nice veggie garden. I live more sustainably than most people. Big compost guy.
Fair enough.
But there is a point where I'm like, this kind of just means nothing. Like, they just throw in climate change and everyone's like, ooh, nice. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Maybe making stuff more
What are you
efficient,
talking about?
like food production.
Like herbicides and chemicals? And
Yeah,
stuff?
the AI would be able to figure out a way
Isn't that
to make
bad
something
for
more
you?
efficient that
These
isn't
aren't
as
good.
bad for you.
They're like those poisons that they spray things with are not good for you. They have
No.
very adverse reaction. Just because we can grow greater yields of food, which we can, thanks to herbicides and pesticides and GMOs and things, like doesn't mean that they're good for you
No,
to
definitely not.
consume. Do you know
But
what I mean?
maybe the AI is making a better one. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the point.
Okay, maybe.
Oh.
There you go.
This
okay,
isn't
well,
my
yeah,
opinion. I'm
that's-
just like saying as an
that's
idea.
like, I'm just
Anyway.
saying, I don't know. It sounds great.
We had a good point that was as a con to that, and not I guess to that point in general, but Brennan was talking about it. I thought it was pretty interesting. It ties back into the for Aristotle thing, where like a loss of creativity, or if we're having the control, these people regurgitating the stuff, and it goes on for a number of generations, like you said, you'll have no one actually remembering how to do it. So let's say the AI breaks down one day, and we actually don't know how to do
200
it
years in the future, and the AI just goes dark. It's like, I'm sorry, Tom, I'm dying, and they just disappears.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Could you imagine? It was like, wait.
Huh?
What's a shovel?
Yeah.
How do we?
Well, it's great. The
What do we
movie
do?
Idiocracy is a perfect example of this.
Idiocracy.
They think that Gatorade is like good for the plants because
Idiocracy
it's good for
is
people.
good, yeah, but it's almost like hits a little too close to home sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
And no one remembers how to do anything because it's all computer based and like they've all been.
It's real though,
lazy.
isn't it? Like when I think, it just if you look at, I got a really good buddy of mine who's a really good engineer, like one of the better engineers that I know, absolutely crushing it, in high demand, builds oil rigs, stuff like that. Very, very cool. And we have a shared sort of love of Roman engineering. And I say to him all the time, like, I wish I probably should have done engineering because it seems like a way more interesting job. I ended up doing like commerce and finance and stuff, which is kind of boring actually. Comparatively, I can't build a bridge.
Well, yeah, that's right.
But
still sit in front of a computer.
Anyway, we were talking about this, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I can do a lot of these buildings. I can design some really cool things with the computer." Well, what do you mean? He's like, "Well, without a computer, I can't really do a lot of stuff. Like, I can do some basic stuff, but I actually need the computer to do the engineering."
Right, yeah.
But and then what makes
he can
it
do it, but like he's probably
with the computer
out of it.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're entire, but that's not really true though, is it? Like,
No.
could I get you to do? I don't know.
Whatever I do is like nothing.
No.
Did you get you to do your thing? Whatever you do. Turns out I don't do anything, so they can't take over anything.
I think what
It's like a famous quote from Oscar Wilde. I don't do anything, therefore I'll become nothing. It's my reward.
Very good.
Anyway.
I'm trying to think on the fly of a task that you might not be able to do with a computer because it kind of
Emails.
only exists with the
Yeah.
computer. I guess
PowerPoint.
the ultimate point is like the Roman engineers were able to calculate the distance between a water reservoir that wasn't just the nearest body of water to a city. It was like fresh water, and they could build an aqueduct with the perfect, half-degree gradient the entire way, like 6 miles long.
Pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible, he says.
Yeah,
that's
that's
all
good.
right. That's extremely cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. That's like one of the biggest feats of engineering in the world. I think it's just amazing.
Could use a
Right.
pump though. No, I'm just joking. I agree with it. I'm all
This
over this.
guy, he's this
I'm on the
close to
same
a
page.
knuckle sandwich. An Archimedes screw. Have you seen that? You know what it is?
Yeah.
So cool.
It's
Like
amazing.
one of the coolest I've ever seen. It's just conceptually
All the Archimedes
amazing.
stuff's great.
Archimedes' greatest mind in the ancient world. Anyway, moving right on because that's another whole episode. Also, didn't feature on either of our top 3 greatest minds. So
Yeah,
shout
but
out
he's
to
done some cool
Archimedes.
stuff.
Like very, very cool guy. Maybe your 4th on my list. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I think
he's
some of the
cool.
stuff's contentious. What he did, I'm not sure if they knew it was him or some shit.
He
I can't
was
remember.
amazing. The leather.
Yeah.
I'll lift an entire. Anyway, I digress because I could tell stories about Archimedes already. I would say that the idea that Josh and I'm not an engineer, but my buddy is. We can look at these videos on the Roman engineering and go like, that's really cool that they can do all that without a computer. And he'd be like, hey, I could probably maybe do the math.
And he has exponential knowledge, by the way, on like
Huge
materials.
knowledge. Like, yeah. Like this guy is.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying that because he's my buddy. I just roll in elite circles, obviously. But he's very, very good at what he does.
Right.
And he said, like, it'd be very challenging to do a lot of the engineering without the computers because we grow up in an environment where computing exists as much as the pen and paper. Do you know what I mean? To try to conceptualize no computer is like, well, a monk in the 14th century can't conceptualize like no writing instruments. It is part of the infrastructure in which we occupy.
tool.
It's a tool that we use. And as mentioned, I think I dropped his name by accident, but my good buddy uses this tool very, very well. And I think he'd have a better chance than not to figure out how to build like an aqueduct.
He could
the
do
way
it.
the Romans is. Maybe.
Give him some time.
Like he said, like it's not a guarantee that I can just whip it up and do it because a lot of stuff is just on the computer. Like, do I know all the formulas off the top of my head? Like, no, because I've written them down.
If I
It's
put this
in my
I-beam
memory.
and this thing here, and there's like making definitely needs a little bit more
Do you
support.
know, like, and this is maybe I'm being redundant and saying this again, but do you know how difficult it is to hold a perfect gradient over miles?
Obviously,
this
I
is
don't.
not This is not building a table and just making it.
Yeah.
Tilt a little bit
Yeah.
from here to here. That's fine, but if you tilt it 2 degrees here, it's gonna ruin. Like you could have the water just overflowing here because you've got a point where it doesn't flow properly. Or it builds up sediment and it gets a bunch of bacteria and it has to be perfect. The standard was perfection, Cameron, and they made it perfectly. It's incredible.
Amazing. It's good stuff.
I just want
But
to
I
be
mean, like,
more excited about this.
I mean, I'm excited, but I feel
why
like
am I not
I feel
more-
like with these things, they had a lot of fucking time and like a lot of guess and check. Whereas now we're like, we've got to do this within like 6 to 12 months. I feel like back then they had like maybe 50 dudes doing it every single day until it worked. And if they didn't get it to work, they might have been killed, like sort of thing. So there's like a lot of motivation. I think you'd be amazed what you could do when a couple of good minds get together.
Okay.
But
Alrighty then. Fair enough. Okay, maybe let's go to the final con. The overarching con, I think, the 3 of us had a bit of a discussion, would be if you've all seen the movie WALL-E, where the humans end up being essentially run by machines, and they just kind of
they're just consumers.
they're
floating
just
around.
consumers. And my granddad told me when I was about 17 or 18, the reason people consume or watch lots of TV or play lots of video games or do any of these things that are essentially distractions or escapes from the pain of life, which is not a good time. You should embrace the suffering. It's good for you. Escaping from the pain of life, you have to be constantly entertained.
Fair enough.
And that's essentially where the AI revolution ends. Is what we kind of speculate.
Yeah, like with all the spare time, you could philosophize or do something really interesting. And
People
I think
don't
we'd end up,
do that.
because we're lazy and we're really good at conserving energy, I think we just become fat blobs on the couch floating around Wall-E, just getting sucked into whatever.
It's more than that. Like, we have the opportunity now. There's plenty of time now to read books and contemplate. Like, to contemplate. If you want to know yourself, sit on a chair and watch the sunset for 6 hours by yourself and say nothing and do nothing. You'll learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah,
like, truly.
fair.
You'll have your inner dialogue will kick in and you'll be like, oh, I'm going to start thinking about some ideas and think about things that affect me or that could affect me. You'll learn a lot about yourself.
Well, you don't have any of this time, I don't think. You don't have time to be bored.
Oh, you've got time.
Oh, no, but I think with the AI stuff, I don't think for some odd reason,
got
you won't
all
have
the time
time
in
to
the
be
world.
bored. You'd just be bombarded with stuff. It's kind of like the same now.
Don't
People
get a Neuralink. Turn your phone off. Disconnect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Disconnect. The idea of AI on the pro side is supposed to give you more leisure time.
That's right.
The problem with like most people is they spend their leisure time really poorly.
Yeah, that's right.
Even like my wife's really big on this like wind down time before bed.
Yeah, that's supposed to be good for
Don't
you.
look
Good
at
for your
screens.
sleep.
You know, have a cup of tea, talk. Don't read a book. And things affect you differently. Like, it's not entertainment is not a constant throughout the medians. There are some things that are better at certain times. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah,
for
right,
sure.
right. Gotcha.
You can't be having a party and then go straight to sleep. Can't be dopamine yourself out of control and then have a solid 9 hours with a couple hours of REM. No way.
You need your REM sleep.
No, but people don't know that because they're like
too busy bombarded.
I need that fix.
Okay, so I kind of gave it away. I think the Wall-E time is bad, but I'm just a super boring Catholic guy, so no one cares about me. Do you think the Wall-E stuff was bad? And if you do, why is it bad?
The Wall-E stuff, I think's an example of bad because in the movie they're like just a bunch of fat consumers floating around, not realizing that there's like a life to live and everything's like made so easy. I think it's supposed to be an example of terrible outcome of technology. And it's bad because you want to be moving. You want to be doing stuff. You want to be interfacing with stuff yourself, not like through a screen. You want to be interacting with people too. People where it's at. You don't want to be sort of like sucked into your own thing. That's where real like human growth and stuff occurs. Interacting with people, in my opinion.
Very
you
good.
can do it by yourself, but
very
it's
good.
a lot harder.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you can.
You could be like Newton in a room for 3-4 months and he comes up
Yeah, but
with
he was
like,
already an adult. It wasn't like he lived his
that's
life by himself. But yeah, again, being alone is that's where your thoughts and stuff are made. But I'm trying to get, I guess what I'm trying to get out of you, and I'm pressing pretty hard here because I really want to see you jump off the fence and firmly in a camp. Like, what about specifically surrendering control to the machines in Wall-E is bad? Because I could make the case, and I'm sure someone playing devil's advocate could say, hey, objectively, they are fed, entertained, safe. Like a lot of the big ticket items, they having kids. Like there's kids on Wall-E, I'm pretty sure.
I've seen,
Yeah, I can't. It's been a while. I have seen the movie, but it's been a while. But they're living life on aggregate. You know, like they are doing a lot of the things that we would say like that's good to do. Like that's a tick. You know what I mean? So why is it bad?
I think what you're trying to get at me is something that I've already pre-assumed is bad.
Yeah,
and I'm not like stating it specifically. Like you're trying to say like there's no purpose, no meaning, higher reason.
No, forget like I'm a boring guy.
Yeah.
My beliefs are very just 2,000 years old. But like, what is there something to it that you feel like it's almost inhuman, or is it what about it? Because if you looked at a person's life now, all right, and said, are they in a sort of, do they have secured housing? People in Wall-E do. All right, tick. Do they have, are they well fed? People in Wall-E, very well fed, very big porkers, so they're well fed. Are they able to, I don't know if spending money on entertainment is real. I don't know what the currents, I don't remember the movie that well, but are they buying things? I'm guessing, you know, check. So they've got some cash to consume things.
Yeah.
Like, what is the part of that that's bad?
You're trying to say there's no struggle.
No, stop worrying about what I'm saying. I'm asking you what
I think I
you're
already
saying.
mentioned it. I think that it's
Okay.
it's
All
an
right.
inhuman, unpurposed,
Okay.
unmeaningful,
You just-
lack of interaction with humans.
Yeah.
It's not a good way to live, I think, objectively. It seems like you're just wasting away into nothingness. It's not individualized. You're not learning anything. To be honest, but the big thing about me is like it's all about interaction in nature and society.
For sure.
And with people.
For sure.
It looks to me like they're all getting sucked into a computer screen. What's the thing you're trying to pull out of me?
I honestly am not trying to pull anything specifically out of you. I just wanted you to.
But you literally just said you were.
Well, I'm trying to get you to expand on your own thoughts and stuff.
Yeah.
I think. I think you are a lot closer to me deep down. I just don't think you want to acknowledge like that it is.
Yeah, possibly
maybe more. I think you want to keep a more balanced view, and I know we've spoken like I have stronger views on things probably than you, but at the core, I think the first principles we share a lot of first principles.
Yeah, a lot of the time we're on the
So-
right same page. I think I come at it at a different angle.
Probably
There's different
sure.
underlying fundamental assumptions and reasons of why I get there, but I think usually at the same time I'm there.
Nice.
Um,
Brendos, what's your thoughts quickly on? Yeah, I don't know if it's Brendos. Are you in there, mate? What do you think of the Wally stuff? Is there?
what would you say if Brendan was asking you this specific? If Carlton was asking you this specific questions?
Yeah, I'm here. I definitely feel that struggle is a part of human nature,
Boom.
and that this comes back to the heaven kind of situation about like what's the purpose, what is the drive to continue if everything's just given to you and you don't need to worry about anything. What purpose do you have? What drive do you have? Like there's a lot of people that they get up in the morning because they're going to do something creative. They're going to paint, they're going to draw. You guys are writing something that I can't see.
Yeah, sorry, no,
That's
it's nothing.
creative.
It's nothing. It's just him liking it. What you're saying, like actually, yeah.
Yeah. So like I am definitely on the same lines of Carlton that fun, like happiness is not something that you can just obtain and just have forever. It's a feeling that you get from accomplishment or a major good thing in your life, but you can't just be happy forever having everything given to you, all of your ambitions fulfilled, which is what we talked about in the simulation. Like, so why in real life would we be striving to have everything fulfilled when we decided that if we could just jump into a simulation that does that for us right now, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
We
There's
want
no
that
character.
drive. We want
You're not
that
developing
purpose.
anything.
Yeah.
We want to be individuals. So I think AI is the wrong way to go for many of the aspects.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty huge topic. I
It's-
think
I
we
was
could
gonna say,
probably-
I kinda also wanna talk
actually
about
said
a
in
few other
my
things.
meeting notes to the boys, I said
Yeah.
we should do a 3-parter. But
We maybe could, to be honest.
Um,
I think I kind of want to talk about the AI love and also the lack of, control
Yeah.
over security. These are the things also we could do a whole other thing on.
Well, maybe we'll make it a part 3.
We could
and
do.
We'll come back
Why not?
and the next episode will be part 3, AI love with Cameron.
So I've spent the entire week looking into it real deeply. I'll tell you about it.
Actually,
Timu's
that
got
kind of might be
all
fun.
the details. No, just joking.
2 blokes in a cave, trying to get out of a cave until part 3. See you later.
So yeah.